This video may contain offensive language or be frightening to some viewers. Viewer discretion is recommended. A love lost. John sat in his chair, eagerly awaiting for his breakfast so he could commence the day. His elegant mother came with a steaming plate of pancakes, scrambled eggs, and fresh bacon, served with a tall glass of freshly squeezed orange juice. He happily consumed the entire plate, smacking his lips to enjoy every particle of his morning feast. His father stepped into the kitchen. Being a successful entrepreneur and the main stockholder of several wealthy companies, he was indeed well off. John smiled at his father as he entered, whom in turn gave a cheery smile back. His father and mother were happily married. 15 years of marriage and not a single ounce of love lost between them. The way they look at each other, the butterflies that invade his mother's insides, and the raw emotion emitting from his father. It's as if they fall in love every single time they see each other. John knew it was a bit creepy to admire his parents in such a manner, but he couldn't help but be envious of it all. He longed for that same kind of love. The kind of unmistakable passion you feel when you take that special someone into your arms. All the love that envelops and warms your body when you realize you have the love of your life before you. John was daydreaming at this point, but he couldn't help it. His father called to him. "John, stop staring at the wall. You're going to be late." John quickly snapped from his daze and rushed out the door. He had forgotten that today was Monday and he needed to attend school. John walked merrily on his way to school, cheerfully calling to his neighbours as he passed them. Having forgotten his whole ordeal from the morning, he set his mind onto the day to come. As he entered the front doors of the school, he excitedly put together plan after plan, making a mental schedule. He would make the best out of this day, just like he does every day. He had it all planned. Study intently in class. Soak all the information in. Make sure everybody around him is okay, giving advice and helping anyone out who needed it. And giving his all in that day of football practice, as the first homecoming game was coming up and he wanted to make sure he was in top form. Needless to say, John had a perfect life. He had great friends. Everyone liked him. The teachers liked him. The coaches liked him. John was as happy as can be on that day. Just like every other day. Nothing could ever deter him from his mindset. Nothing. He was sitting in class, completely focused on doing the work his teacher had assigned him, when the classroom door opened. John looked up, expecting maybe one of his classmates was tardy. He didn't anticipate what was about to happen. His eyes first caught view of the person's lower body. Long, slender legs, hugged perfectly by a pair of light blue jeans. An elegantly perfect body, hidden by a purple blouse. A silver necklace hung from the girl's delicate neck. John was awestruck by this girl. Her lips so smooth and plump. Her rosy red cheeks against the perfect tint of peach-coloured skin. John couldn't look away. Her long, lusciously gorgeous hair cascading over her neck and shoulders, down to her chest. Her eyes, those hazel-coloured gems of perfection. The way they sparkled as she entered the room was magnificent. Everything about this girl was flawless. John was in a daze again. Never before has he seen such beauty. Never before has such perfection graced his eyes before. His heart pounded in his chest. His mind was void of all except for this girl. The teacher announced that her name was Rose. She was a new student to the school, and this was obviously her first day. The teacher promptly chose an empty seat for her to sit in. John's heart almost leapt out of his chest when she was to sit next to him. Could this be it? Could this be what John was looking for? He quickly recalled that morning's events. The love, the passionate emotion that is dealt inexplicably on one's heart when the one has been found. He glanced over at Rose, who has already taken a seat next to him. Her buttery smooth cheek is just calling to be kissed. She looks over at him. John doesn't realise, as he is still in a daze from her beauty. He notices that she is looking right at him. He immediately turns away, embarrassed that he was caught staring. He catches a smile on the girl's face in his peripherals. What did this mean? Did she know how I felt? Was she somehow in tune with how I was feeling? Of course not. He dismissed the thought. He could never get a girl like that anyway. The rest of the day resumed as normal, with the exception that Rose has now burrowed into John's mind. Now, when he roams the halls, he looks for her. He longs to catch a glimpse of her beautiful hazel eyes. Just a glimpse is all he wanted. He never stopped to question how one girl could completely sweep him off his feet. He yearned to speak with her, to hear her speak, to say his name, to make his knees weak, to envelop his body in the soft warm love that he can only dream of. But John's self-confidence wasn't too great, so he dismissed everything as simple lust. He convinced himself that this was simply hormones taking over, but it didn't last long. The entire day he thought about her. As he was leaving school, he prayed that maybe he could take one last look at her. But to his disappointment, she was nowhere to be found. He walks cheerfully to his car, excited to go home. The quicker the day ended, the better. He was eager about attempting to talk to Rose. In fact, he was so eager, he didn't notice that she was standing 5 feet from him. She was waiting for him. John was speechless. Did she know how I felt about her? Why is she standing here? Was she waiting for me? John didn't know what to say. His heart was doing 600 miles per hour. His palms were sweating. It's as if he was shrouded in the perfect mist of love. She looked at him. They gazed at each other for a while. John was getting ready to break the awkwardness, but she stepped closer. John's heart stopped. Was she making a move? On me? Why me? Her rosy cheeks were perfect for her lips. Her hazel eyes looked at him. Her gaze digs into his heart, where she shall remain. She knows how John felt, and John realized that. What he didn't realize was that she felt the same. The same crazy, passionate love that John felt for her. The emotion emitted from these two as they got closer was apparent. They were both ready for love. True love. The kind that only two people that are in perfect sync with each other, mind, body, and soul, acting as one, as if the love is not two hearts, but one. John was on a cloud. He felt weightless. His heart almost bursting with joy. As Rose leaned in for an embrace, John gave in instantly. Her warmth covered John like a blanket. He was unmistakably happy. He had found it. He had found love. The person he would spend forever with, The person that would completely turn his world into a beautiful high. The kind of high that drug addicts could only dream of. Rose looked up. Her hazel eyes almost paralyzing John. She leans forward, her smooth lips puckered. John knew what he needed to do. A true love's kiss. The kiss that would forever bind them together. The kind of kiss that makes your entire body tingle from your head to your feet. John leaned in, so happy that he had found Rose. He was in complete bliss. He puckers and closes his eyes in anticipation for her soft lips to touch his. It never comes. He opens his eyes, only to find himself staring at his ceiling. He looks around his filthy one-room apartment. Beer cans, mouldy food, and various rodents scattered the floor. Gunshots and sirens are heard in the distance. He couldn't believe it. The warmth was gone. The love escaped his grasp. The warmth was replaced with a freezing chill as reality sets in. He was left with a cold reminder of what will never be his. The perfect life. The perfect girl. The perfect love. The feeling was pure devastation. The longing for that intense emotion drove him mad. He screamed at the top of his lungs, tears streaming down his cheeks. He longed for that love again. He would dream once again. In a fit of blind rage and extreme emotional distress, he begins bashing his head on the surface of his desk. He would knock himself out cold. Anything to have that passionate feeling return. To gaze upon those hazel eyes once more. The rush of warmth to return to his cold and desperate body. Blood is dripping from his forehead. He bashes his head until he slowly slips away. He falls back in a puddle of his own blood and tears, feeling himself grow fainter and fainter. He would finally see those hazel eyes, that perfect figure, her rosy red cheeks. He would finally live the perfect life, with perfect parents, perfect school, perfect friends, and most of all, the perfect love. He never wakes up. I see his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow, black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand. I will not go to sleep